Welcome to Who's Who Speaks with Mike Ryan. The Who's Who speak on this program are world-famous sculptor and artist Guy Dill. Danae Montague King helps with an age-old problem. But up next, stage, screen, and television star, legendary actress Sally Kirkland.
Sally Kirkland is a movie star, TV star, artist, minister, yoga teacher, health activist, and an internet guru, so she's very groovy to say the least. Sally, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Groovy, very 60s.
Hey, that's still my era.
Yeah, me too. I've never changed, I don't think.
But I said if you can recall the 60s, you weren't there.
No, I can recall it. I was there.
And a great springboard for what basically is the whole movie industry, isn't it? The 60s sort of set in place what's going to happen the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
If you say so. Yeah, I guess so. I just know I was driven. As a child, I was driven. I had to act. And I started when I was 10, did Shakespeare. And then when I was 17, I was acting with Claire Bloom and Rod Steiger and Spoleto. And then understudying Joey Heatherton on Broadway when I was 17 with Rita Hayworth and all sorts of interesting people. And then doing Joseph Papp's Shakespeare Festival in New York, and then joining the La Mama troupe and being the first nude actress in 1968 with, well, we did Tom Paine, based on Tom Paine, and that was during the Columbia riots. And we were trying to have a sexual revolution in the arts because we didn't believe in the war in Vietnam. And I became the first nude actress in Terrence McNally's Sweet Eros. And the New York Times called me up and said, why? And I said, because you can't carry a gun on a naked body. And I was very, very strong about this. And so then that led to film coming apart, Rip Torn, and Hollywood Called, The Sting, The Way We Were, and came out here, and I guess I never left,
Do you prefer New York or Hollywood?
Well,
or LA?
I prefer New York, but it's not easy for a single woman to live in New York. So now I go back once a year for a period of time to the Village. I love New York. I love LA, but I love my spiritual path in LA, and I love all the theater and the international feeling of New York and walking on the streets and people watching and hearing all the different accents.
And you can't get that here in LA?
You have to drive to it, don't you?
You do. You've always been a very public person because your family.
Oh, my mom, yeah, my mom was a public person. She was fashion editor of Vogue in the 40s, and then Life all through for 25 years until television took over and Life didn't matter anymore. So I grew up watching her with Jackie O and Grace Kelly and Audrey Hepburn, and she was the first person to bring Italian fashions to this country and demonstrate the miniskirt and the no-bra look and the hippie chic. And oh God, I would be trotted out on the runway in these little outfits, and at a very early age I was photographed. I was very shy. I know that's probably hard to believe. I was painfully shy, only child. So I became an actress so I could hide behind these characters that would allow me to get out of my shyness.
How old were you when you started acting?
10.
10.
Yeah, I went to the Valley Drama Camp, and I did monologues from Macbeth playing Macbeth. And then I went to all-girls school, so I played all men until I was 17. Shakespeare would have liked me, huh? I was Prince Albert to Queen Victoria. I was Mr. President, and oh, what's that amazing play? Okay, well, I can't remember. I just remember being a lot of very romantic men, And I was in Andy Warhol's 13 Most Beautiful Women when I was very young. So he put a camera on me and he said, I'm going to leave the room for 15 minutes, don't move. And I couldn't believe that somebody was telling me not to move because I was trained by Lee Strasberg in the Actors Studio. So I did an emotional recall and the tears started coming down my face. I never moved, but the tears started coming down. I hear Dennis Hopper, well, I know Dennis Hopper tells a similar story when they did the male version, 13 Most Beautiful Men. And it's interesting because being in New York, I lived in Germantown, and all of the Eastern Europeans, and I got my big break playing in Czechoslovakia. And my name is Anna Dolkova. I come from Prague, Czechoslovakia. What you want? I don't want to talk about my personal life. You give me the script, I do the script. I don't want to talk about my love life, my personal life. So that came from knowing the Heidelberg Bar and being able to hang out with the Germans and the Czechs and the Poles and the Russians. And when it came time to doing Anna, for which I got to win the Best Actress Oscar nomination and Golden Globe and Independent Spirit Award, it was a very New York thing. They called up and said, "Can you learn this in 2 weeks?" And I said, "Yeah." And then having said yeah, it was like a journey, to get. I combined Hindu. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murtaye Nishprapanjaya Shantaye Niralambai. So I combined that with Marlene Dietrich.
After this break, Sally talks about her favorite roles, her art, and her philosophy on life with Mike Ryan and Who's Who Speaks.